times is grim and worse. We are so uncertain what is going to happen. The bailout bill has not passed. The market is now open in Asia, and former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich is still with us. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about this New York Times article. It's obviously scandalized both of us, with the Goldman Sachs man in the room with his $20 billion stake at hand on this AIG bailout. But anyway, why isn't someone screaming about this besides one newspaper article and now you?
You know, I don't know. I don't understand. I think that the liberal Democrats, frankly, are pretty happy with Paulson because they hope he's going to get them a whole lot of money to spend, and they figure they may take over at the election and then they get to spend all that money. I think the conservative Republicans are embarrassed that it's a Republican administration, and so they're a little bit timid to speak out. But on both sides, this should be seen as an extraordinary scandal. Here you have a former chairman of Goldman Sachs, Secretary of the Treasury. You have Goldman Sachs being in a privileged position to be in a meeting at the New York Federal Reserve to discuss the bailing out of AIG. Then you have the government put up $85 billion for AIG, in which Goldman Sachs has a $20 billion exposure. I mean, there's something fundamentally so wrong about this whole picture that it's no wonder that it's hard. And frankly, when I've talked to House Republicans over the last 3 days, their level of hostility towards Secretary Paulson and their belief that he totally rejects and ignores all of the alternative ideas except the ones he wants is pretty solid. I think the president would be far better off to have Bob Kimmett up there, the Undersecretary of the Treasury, negotiating this bill than he is to have Secretary Paulson. And I think you'd have a much fairer sense in the country of what's going on. I do think this is bad, and I think it's going to get worse in appearances.
What would you expect or want from your candidate, Senator McCain, on this?
Well, I think that Senator McCain owes it to the country, as does Senator Obama, to outline the principles of what they would do now. I mean, I'd like to hear both of them describe whether or not they agree that we should suspend the mark-to-market accounting procedure, because that could be done immediately in the morning. I mean, that could affect, you know, if he wanted to, Chairman Cox could open the day before the markets by announcing at 7 or 8 a.m. that had been suspended for the next couple of weeks, and you would immediately have relief in all sorts of areas of the financial system involving hundreds of billions of dollars of valuation. I mean, take the amount that Bernanke and Paulson, the Chairman of the Federal Reserve and the Secretary of the Treasury, take the amount they have implied in their testimony. They think the market is currently undervalued in terms of how they would buy paper. And you're talking about a potential resurge of several $100 billion of liquidity just by having Chairman Cox and the Securities and Exchange Commission with a stroke of a pen without any legislation.
All right, let me ask the crude question. This is, of course, an apparent time when the nation is concerned about its financial stability, but it does have political implications. And it seems, at least now, looking at the polls, that Senator Obama, that because of the interesting economy, that the voters seem to think that he's better at handling this. We have a minute left. Your thought on that?
Sure. I think in the absence of Senator McCain making a clear and vivid case that people believe in and understand, inherently in an economic hard time, the out party and the Democratic Party, in this case they're the same, has a substantial automatic advantage. So the challenge is for Senator McCain to offer such decisive and clear alternative that people decide that it's a better choice. And I'd say the polls are telling you he has not yet done that.
Is that possible? I mean, it's such a short amount of time between now and Election Day.
In the age of television and the age of the internet, 72 hours can be an eternity, as you well know.
And indeed,
we're a long way off from the end of the election.
Indeed. So you're not the least bit surprised by the poll numbers, at least as they are now?
No. I mean, given where we are, and given the fact that everybody has now been vividly reminded that President Bush is in office, and have been reminded of how unhappy they are, and have been reminded of how much they want change, all of those things were net advantages for Senator Obama. So I think the question is, over the next 4 weeks, can Senator McCain communicate so vividly and so clearly a better future than Senator Obama that people decide they'll get the real change from McCain? If he can, he'll win the presidency despite everything. If he can't, I suspect he'll lose.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, and we'll see you in Washington soon. Thank you, sir.